Good morning and welcome to the Pleasure for Health podcast. My name is Ailsa Kepi and I will be speaking to you today about this topic of being in a relationship with a narcissist and why that makes you feel so bad. So we're going to dive in a moment, but if you want to find out more about me and my work, you can go to my website, pleasureforhealth.com. And look up all the information about working with me as a relationship or intimacy coach or body worker. So this was a topic dear to my heart because I have been involved with narcissists probably for most of my life, and I've done a lot of work in order to get to a place of having really good boundaries and of also helping others to get out of their narcissistic abuse if it becomes abusive. And I'm not always saying that narcissistically inclined people are abusers in a malignant way. They're not necessarily getting to that stage. However, we do want to notice why these relationship dynamics are starting to happen. And if we have a choice in that, we can actually make a difference. Either we walk out of the relationship intact, or we can actually work with our own boundaries, with our own self-awareness in order to not contribute to that relationship dynamic. So, why does it feel bad when you're in a relationship with a narcissistically inclined person? Mostly because we are not able to co-regulate with them. And co-regulation is relates to the nervous system, and it's a psychological term that deals with this idea that when we're with other people, that we tend to regulate our nervous systems with the other people, especially in an intimate relationship. We rely on our partner to help us regulate and deal with stress together. And so it becomes a shared experience. And, we notice these kind of shared experiences in big crowds often as well, right? Like if you're at a football game and everyone's getting really excited because your team is winning and you just scored a goal, there's this like shared excitement. So that's a similar, like you're co-regulating with the people around you to all of you have this experience of excitement. Same thing, maybe in a more, difficult sense, you might walk into a room and everyone's pretty depressed and you suddenly start feeling depressed as well. And you're sort of taking on some of the depression in that room. And now you're starting to feel that as well. So most of us have this ability, this innate kind of, response to co-regulate with people that we're in relationship with. So it's a natural human response. However, if you have grown up or been if you were a young child and it wasn't safe to co-regulate with your parents, let's say, or let's say your parents weren't very good at co-regulating with you as an infant, so the mother wasn't, engaged with you, or the caregiver wasn't engaged with you in a way that made you feel seen and heard, then you may develop this protective sense, actually, of not co-regulating. So you basically shut down to feeling the other person's feelings, because co-regulation is this like joint sense of feeling, right? I'm feeling excited. Do you feel it? Like, wow, this is such a great day. Like, and we get like psyched up together. Or on vice versa, oh my God, I had a really stressful day at work. Oh, okay, I get that. La, 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 la. And we kind of engage with each other and we share the stress of that. So if, there's research being done on children and infants that have not had a good co-regulatory experience as an infant and a young child, and therefore they shut down. They basically learn to just turn it off. And, in some instances that leads to depression or different other mental health disorders, one of which could be narcissistic personality disorder, where you create a persona that gets you some feedback. So if if your parents were wanting you to be the star pupil or the greatest soccer player or this or that, you become that. by overriding your own feelings and sensations, because that gets you at least something, right? That gets you somewhere. So a lot of people develop these narcissistic traits out of protection. That's not maybe the only reason, but one of the big reasons why someone would maybe develop narcissistic traits is in a protective mode, because they actually didn't get the experience of co-regulation as an infant. And what we're meant to learn from this co-regulation is how to gradually self-regulate, how to understand our own emotions and deal with our own emotions and calm ourselves down and perk ourselves up in a way that we have some autonomy as a human being. So as we mature and move toward adulthood, our parents gradually become, less and less involved in our co-regulation. So, they don't have to be like, oh, isn't that nice? Come on now. Like, you might talk to an infant, like, smile, come on, let's eat our dinner. And like, oh, isn't that lovely? Like, we don't have that much interaction. As we get older, it's more of an adult interaction where we can just say, oh, that sounds like a really wonderful day at school. Like, tell me more about that. Oh, I hear that you were sad when your friend pushed you. Like, what happened? We talk to them in a more adult way, and they start to learn how to self-regulate their own emotional state. They don't, our kids don't end up needing us to be in the same emotional state that they're in order to co-regulate their own emotions. That is the ideal maturation process. So we can understand that as a person, if you didn't have that co-regulation as an infant, you either shut down, you don't know how to co-regulate, and you also don't learn how to self-regulate. So there's many narcissistically inclined people that don't have any idea or any skills in self-regulation other than to get with someone, to be in a relationship with someone that will take on all their emotions, to which they can dump all their emotions on you. Now we're getting to this real understanding of, why does it feel bad? Why do I feel so drained after I've been around this person? Okay, so you've been drained because they're actually using you to co-regulate and to regulate their own emotions. So now they're expecting you not only to, regulate yourself, but also to regulate them. So they become like this vampire energy of, I need you to be ashamed because I feel ashamed. I need you to take on my anger because I'm angry. I need you to be, sad because I'm sad. So they will kind of force you to feel those feelings. And if you don't feel them empathically, then they'll, make you feel those feelings by making you sad or whatever, because they need you to have the emotions for them. They don't know how to regulate or be aware of or communicate their own emotional needs. And you can start seeing this like subtly in relationships, where shame is a really big one. Let's say, I'm ashamed of something I did, and then all of a sudden they're getting angry at you. Well, you should be ashamed of like da la 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 la. And you're like, wait a second, like I wasn't even involved in this issue. Why am I needing to feel anything? And that's, shame is a very difficult emotion to feel, as most of us know. And, if we're empathic, we tend, this is why narcissistic people tend to gravitate towards someone who's very empathic, but also has low self-esteem, because you're going to take on all their emotions for them and you're not going to make a fuss about it, because you don't have enough self-esteem to tell the person to deal with their own self, right? So this is why empaths tend to get drawn to narcissistic people. And it is interesting that, we're willing to, on some level, we're willing to take on these emotions. So, again, it starts feeling really heavy because only one part of this dyad, only one part of this couple is feeling all of the emotions. And so, even in a gendered sense, traditionally, women would take on more of the emotional labor, if you will, than men in a relationship. Now, that's changing a lot, and I would say there's a lot of empathic men out there, and also other genders are mixing it up a little bit. So you need to kind of become really self-aware as to, where are you on the spectrum? Are you more on the narcissistic side, like, do you find it really difficult to feel your feelings, and therefore you want to call your friend and make them feel sad as well, or you want to be angry and just get everyone else angry? Like, this is an immature way to deal with our own emotions. We're asking other people to do the labor for us. So, we may have tendencies towards that, and no judgment here. I do it as well, but it's good to be aware of so that we can start working on ourselves. This is our own work to do, is to then reparent ourselves to get to this point of being able to self-regulate a little better. That's not taking away from this experience of co-regulation, though. I mean, this is a human way that we bond, right? We bond by helping each other through stressful situations. We bond by, in a group, having these co-regulation experiences. So having this experience with someone else, if someone else is asking us to take on their emotions, might tell us, hey, where have I been too empathic and potentially not having boundaries around, is this my feeling or is this the other person's feeling? And if it's the other person's feeling, do I absolutely choose, am I in consent to be taking that on? And if I'm taking it on, am I taking it on 100%, or am I co-regulating with them? And are they actually helping? Are they sharing the burden of that emotion? If you're in a couple and you're dealing with a difficult challenge in your relationship or with your family, or there's financial stress. I mean, we all have stress. Are you dealing with that in a way that both of you feel better when you're together dealing with it? And if that's not the case, there's something else going on. So it's a really good way to start looking at your relationship and say, I feel that I'm doing all the heavy lifting. And then, of course, there could be the case where your partner feels like they're doing all the heavy lifting too, and you both feel like the other one's, dumping all your emotions on, which could possibly be true, that you're both doing that. It could also be true that that in a relationship, we tend to maybe underestimate the amount of work that we need to do to be in relationship, and that we're going to be dealing with more than our own emotional state. We're going to be dealing with the joint emotional state. And if you have children, or you're living with parents, or you have a larger social group, then you're going to be dealing with, a lot more emotional states than just your own. Which is why, I think a lot of people choose to live on their own. When they get to a certain age, they're like, I'm done with this. I don't want to do that. And, perfectly legitimate choice. However, there's something very helpful about having people with which we can co-regulate and help calm our own nervous system and to deal with stress. And so it's, we saw this a lot in the last 3 years with COVID. When people were isolated, there was this loss of ability to co-regulate, and some people did better than others with that kind of imposition of the rules around gathering in groups. So it's I just thought this was an interesting thing to bring up, mostly because I wanted to give you that opportunity to consider your own relationships and consider the way that you show up in your own relationships. And if you are the one that's taking all the emotions on, maybe you want to think about that. And if you're the one that's not dealing with your own stuff and expecting that your partner or your kids or your, whoever, your significant others are taking that work on for you, maybe you want to consider doing some work to help learn your own self-regulation skills. And here's the good news, is that these skills of regulating our own nervous system are absolutely learnable. They're absolutely something that you can learn. And this is what I teach a lot of my clients, learning. And it could be as simple as breathing, could be taking a deep breath. Every time you feel a little bit of tension, you're like, let me take a deep breath and breathe out all the way out. That is self-regulation right there. One way. It may not work if you're super stressed, or you might have to do it multiple times to make it work. And, there's many other ways, going for a walk, gardening, doing anything that you enjoy helps regulation. Writing in a journal, learning to move in something like a yoga class where you're actually being aware of your body and the tension in your body, having a good massage, some kind of body work where you're also being able to notice where you're holding these emotions potentially, or where you're not dealing with things. These are all potentially great ways. And there's also, just little things like small movements that can be helpful in regulating your own emotions. And if you're interested in this type of work, I would say absolutely reach out to me. I'm happy to have a chat with you and see if we are a fit for any of the options I offer. And I would also check out any somatic therapists, as the soma, the body, tends to be more, the body doesn't lie. That's kind of a trope. Your hips can't lie. There you go. The body doesn't lie. So if your body is tense and you're in pain and you're getting dis-ease, then there's something going on. And I would 100% say that there are some emotional dysregulation going on there that you could potentially work through. So I hope that's helpful for your day, and let me know if you felt this hit home for you, if you feel that you're on this one polarity, one side or the other. Are you the kind of more narcissistically inclined person, or are you the more, egoistic or empathic side? That has, both people have no boundaries. You do have to understand that both narcissists and the empaths have no boundaries in this relationship, right? The narcissist, because they're actually putting all their stuff on you. And if you're the empath, because you're not stopping that. So there's a two-way thing here. And that's why when I work with women that have had narcissistic abuse, we have to actually look at ourselves and not to victim blame here, but to say, okay, yeah, that's true. Like, I'm getting abused here, but I need to figure out what my part in this is and how to stop it, right? How to stop it and to take responsibility for ourselves. And hopefully learn to be in a relationship that feels really great. An awesome relationship, you feel better after you've spent time with this person. You come together maybe at a stressful day, and an hour later you're like, okay, the world is all right. I can deal with this. Me and my partner or my friend, we're good. That's how a great relationship should make you feel. Peaceful, joyful. You might not always like them, and I'm not saying you'll never argue, but even after an argument, if it's with someone that's you're in a healthy relationship with, you're gonna feel better even after an argument, right? Because you're gonna feel like, I spoke my mind, I heard them, we might not agree, but we know how to work this out. So these are some of the ways we know we're in a healthy relationship. So as I said, reach out to me if you are curious about this work. I would love to meet with you. You can reach me through my website, pleasureforhealth.com, Facebook page, Pleasure for Health, or Instagram, and I'd be happy to chat with you. So have a wonderful day. Notice how you self-regulate and co-regulate, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.